story time about how my roommate tried to kill my dog and blame it on me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My roommate is literally the craziest person I've ever met. It's a freaking nightmare. Wait till you hear everything she's done. Her and I moved in together at the beginning of the year, so we haven't been living together for that long. But before that, I considered her one of my best friends. We would hang out all the time. Oh yeah, and she loved my dog. I had just gotten out of a relationship and I told her I wanted to find an apartment, and she suggested we live together, so of course we went and found an apartment. Things were good for the first 2 months. We had movie nights, we would cook for each other, and we would just go about our business without any problems. Luckily, I work from home, so I'm always with my dog. Whenever I have an errand to run, I'll just leave her in my room and she usually sleeps. A month ago, I come home and I hear my roommate yelling at my dog. But my roommate didn't realize I was home. When she saw me, she picked up my dog and pretended that she was just joking. I did not like it at all, so I confronted her and I asked her why she was yelling at my dog. She said she wasn't and that I must have heard wrong. The following day, she went to work and left the door open. My dog was about to run out, and we live on a busy street. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my roommate tried to kill my dog and blame it on me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So my crazy roommate started leaving our front door open, knowing very well that my dog could escape at any moment, and we lived on a busy street, God forbid. So I would constantly tell my roommate to stop leaving the door open. That's when she told me that she doesn't know how that's happening and that somebody else must be doing it. This girl was literally trying to convince me that someone was opening our door on purpose. So I finally decided to confront my roommate. I asked her why she was leaving the door open and why she yelled at my dog. And then she confessed that she actually hates dogs. She thinks they're gross and they don't belong in a house. She also told me that she always pretended to like my dog so that I wouldn't get offended. I told her that I thought the best thing for us was for me to move out. She starts to cry and begs me not to leave. She told me that she'll try to tolerate my dog more. After that, she gave me a printed sheet of paper with rules on it. Basically all the things my dog can't do. For example, my dog can't hang out in the living room or even sit on the couch, which she always did. And the biggest rule of all, she did not want her in the bathroom or the kitchen. She wanted her to be in my room all day. This is where it gets scary. Part 3 is Part 3 of how my crazy roommate tried to kill my dog. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. When she gave me all the new rules of how my dog had to behave, I told her I was definitely moving out. That's when she told me that she wished my dog was dead. She told me that my dog was coming in between her and my relationship. Ew. I literally had to sit her down and explain to her that my dog is like my child. I love my dog so much. I would do anything for my dog. Then she asked me if I loved her. I was like, yes, of course I love you, but my dog is like my child. So if I need to move out, I will. Then she gave me the silent treatment. A few days later, I tell her I'm gonna go to my friend's house. I get in my car and drive away, but I realize I forgot something, so I drive back home. That's when I walk into the apartment and I see my roommate holding my dog over the balcony. She was literally about to drop her. I grabbed my dog and I ran away. I went straight to the police and I filed a restraining order. So the police went to talk to her and she told them that I was the one that tried to throw my dog over. Thankfully, the police don't believe her, but now I have to find a place to live. How am I gonna go to my apartment and get all my stuff? What should I do?
Story time on how my parents sold me for a cow and goat. Okay, so boom, we jumping right into this one. So I'm an only child and my parents are farmers. My parents would always tell me how they were going to expand their herd and that I would be the one to help them. I never understood how though. I assumed that they were going to teach me how everything works and I'll eventually take over like a family business. But boy, was I wrong. On my 13th birthday, I was excited because I was going to the village to celebrate. Or so I thought. My parents actually brought me to an elderly man who I never met. The old man then examined me and smiled and gave my parents a thumbs up. Then they started debating on how much cows and goats I'm worth. And I just stood there completely confused as to what was going on. After my parents and the old man were done going back and forth about cows and goats, they came into a conclusion. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how my parents sold me for a cow and goat. Okay, so boom, like I said, my parents and the old man came into a conclusion on how much I was worth. They settled at 8 cows and 6 goats. Then I was married off against my will to become this man's 8th wife. I cried and told my parents please no, but they told me that I should be grateful because I was still young and desirable. And I cost the most right now, which is making them grow a large herd. So when my parents were telling me I was going to be the one to help them, they never meant that I was taking over the farm. They were speaking about literally selling me. I was the youngest out of all the wives, so I got the most attention from my now husband. All of the other wives were like 16 and 20, so it's not like they were old or anything. And now at 14, I'm currently pregnant, expecting my first child, and I'll make sure my baby is never sold.
Am I the asshole for telling the truth at my best friend's wedding during my toast? I'm a 30-year-old male and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know I was limited in what I could contribute financially. But I did tell him I would try my best. So I went to the bachelor party in Miami, I rented the tux, and paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't. His fiancée at the time would text me multiple times a day with updates. Fine. I didn't always respond, and it got to the point where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I'd get a call from my buddy. She texted me for the following reasons. 1. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. 2. She was not going to order any special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served. 3. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help her with favors, seating charts, and programs, so I had to help him with those things according to her. 4. She said if I was a true best man, I would offer to pay for the bar bill. I don't even know what that means. 5. She had to read and improve my speech before the rehearsal dinner and wanted to be included as much as my buddy. She told me to make things up if I had to. I was not allowed to include anyone but the two of them, and no inside jokes or stories about my buddy that didn't include her. 6. Her last text said to tell my wife to keep it together and not make a pregnancy scene during the wedding. Also, she wanted her to choose a dress that downplayed her pregnancy as much as possible. I was just so aggravated, I spoke to my buddy to see if he could reason with her. He told me to just play ball this one time, it's her day, and to cut him a break because he'd be dealing with her nonsense for the rest of his life. The day of, all the bride and my best friend do is scold me, berate me, and bark orders. I head down to the bar for the drink. The bride's mother is there and warns me not to get drunk because I ruined her daughter's day enough. That was the final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash, and in the speech, I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I wished him the best and told him I'd always be there for him, especially during the divorce. So, am I the asshole? No, you are. Good job. Am I the asshole for inviting my girlfriend on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? My girlfriend and I, my parents, my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher making around $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we have been together. There were a few times on the vacation where she did not go on the outings with us, wine tasting, scuba diving, etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, stating simply that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end, expensive places. My parents thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although she normally eats 3. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. When we got back home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. She got teary-eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't physically feasible for her, and neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 of 6. She said she was not expecting everything to cost so much and she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work long term if she is expected to go on vacations like that with people who make much more than her. I feel bad that I did not pick up on her discomfort sooner, but we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. So, am I the asshole for picking an expensive vacation? Am I the asshole for taking away my daughter's car for lying to my fiancé? I, 36-year-old male, have a 16-year-old daughter. I have full custody of her because her mom had a mental breakdown and has been in and out of rehab. This January, I started dating my girlfriend who is 21 years old. Then quarantine happened, and that time apart made me realize that I wanted to spend my life with her. So I proposed in May and she moved in, and our wedding is in October. Since then, my daughter has been a nightmare. She and my younger sister, who's 25, keep calling my fiancé the kid. My fiancé decides to invite my daughter out to go shopping. She kept trying to set a date, but my daughter kept saying she had an extracurricular activity she needed to tend to. So yesterday, when my daughter once again made up the excuse, I decided to follow her car. She ended up pulling to a diner, and I realized she was grabbing lunch with my younger sister. I was beyond furious. First at my sister for enabling toxic behavior, and second at my daughter for lying to her future stepmom. I ended up taking her car keys away from her. Her aunt then called and said I had no right to do so. I explained that she would not be getting the car back until she makes an attempt to bond with her stepmom. Am I the asshole for not condoning lying? I just want my fiancé to be accepted into the family. What a moron. Like, what did you think? You think your daughter's gonna accept a girl who's 5 years older than her, like who could be her big sister as her mom? Like, men are so dumb sometimes.
I met a guy that I really like. His name is Austin. We've been dating for about 7 months now. We really hit it off and things were going great. We decided to move in together because it made sense financially and we believed that we'd love living together. At first, we did. However, I now know why people say you never truly know someone until you live together. There's a few things that he does that drive me crazy. First of all, he hates to clean. I know the same can be said for a lot of guys, but Austin takes it to the next level. I've gone on him several times about doing the dishes. Instead of washing them, he'll try to be sneaky and throw away the dirty dishes altogether so he doesn't have to clean them or hear me complain. He claims it was an accident, but I found my mugs been placed in the trash multiple times. He threw away my favorite mug that I got from Disneyland because it had caked on cereal on it and it would be hard to clean. To me, that's just next level lazy and makes no sense. The next thing I caught him doing that blew my mind and disgusted me at the same time is when he plays video games in the living room and instead of going to the bathroom,